Before I begin, I just want to make it clear that I understand that what I am about to say and, any theories or conjectures I might have are about very serious matters. Okay? And it's not like me to say these things, but I am about to hit a lot of raw spots today in talking about this. So for any TIs who are watching, I please ask you to bear with me. If I start getting passionate, understand it's not because I'm angry or I want revenge or anything like that. Like, what I'm recording right now is genuine concern from not only myself and not only targeted individuals, but for everybody. So without further ado, let's begin. Now, Trump has come out in the US saying that there is 100% chance that migrants will be involved in terrorism. Now, before I can tell you what I think about what Trump said, first of all, I have to make clear that what I'm about to give you is a juxtaposition between Trump explicitly saying that migrants are 100% likely to commit terrorist attacks and the Southport massacre. First off, with regards to the Southport massacre, there is a specific way in which Axel, I can't remember his surname, forgive me, in which Axel was handled, okay? First off, there was knowledge among social services that he had the potential to be violent or that there was something seriously wrong with him because his parents raised the alarm. Even when he demonstrated behavior that could be construed to be violent, he was still neglected. This is something that a lot of British citizens experience with the NHS across the board, but it is usually more likely with Black people and usually Black male individuals. I'm heading somewhere with this, so stay with me. So first of all, they knew he was violent. And as a Black male, he was more likely to be neglected until the need for legal intervention or injections. He was left to his own devices until things got so serious they couldn't ignore it anymore. So that was the first step. The first step was to ignore obvious, glaring mental health issues. The second thing was that after Axel committed those awful atrocities against children, rest in peace to the little babies who were slain. After he committed those awful atrocities, these terrible atrocities against those children, what the judge did was waive his right to anonymity. Now, my thing is this. On the surface, the judge's behavior was completely understandable. This guy murdered children. Why should he have the right to any anonymity? He murdered children during a dance class. Why does he deserve to have his anonymity right? Why does he deserve any anonymity rights because of what he did? Why does he deserve that? So on the surface, him having his anonymity rights waived seems like common sense. But this judge did this at a time when he knew that for at least a decade, immigrants were being demonized by the press. He knew that there was growing tension between different ethnic and religious groups. The judge knew this and waived the right to anonymity to the point where far-right groups used his atrocious actions as their rallying cry. And as a result, it's endangered many people throughout the UK. So basically, the anti-immigration rhetoric was inflamed by waiving Axel's right to anonymity, which in turn caused other brown and black businesses and people to be harmed, innocent people, off the back of these actions. And it's only after that anti-immigration rhetoric has been exploited, it's only months after the fact, when Axel has been charged and sentenced, that now we get a full picture as to how neglectful the government have been. And whilst it's difficult for me to say that MI5 were involved in this young man's radicalization via gang stalking, while it's actually impossible for me to say that because there's no real proof of that, immigrants have been gang stalked. And children of immigrants have been gang stalked. I'm proof of that. I'm the descendant of Jamaican, not even Jamaican immigrants, because they were part of the Commonwealth by the time they came over here. So I'm the descendant of Jamaicans, right? So immigrants and the descendant of immigrants have been gang stalked before. So given all the actions that led to, given everything that led to Axel's crimes and his subsequent sentencing, I personally believe that he was gang stalked. I personally believe that ultrasound weaponry was used against him to further exacerbate whatever mental health problems there already were. Now, again, weapons like that cannot, they can't transform you into somebody you're not. They can't transform you into somebody you're not. It can only augment any malaise that's already there. So there's no possibility that Axel might not have killed those kids had he not been gang stalked. There's no, that's only a possibility. It's not a certainty that he wouldn't have done the same thing if he were not gang stalked. But the gang stalking, the ultrasound electronic weaponry, makes it that much more likely that his behavior would become violent, that he would make good on his violent behavior. I believe that MI5 targeted him and targeted that family. I believe that this government, like all governments, need a false flag, need a good enemy for other people to rally behind when the government have failed their citizens. And I believe that Axel was that false flag, and unfortunately, innocent children had to pay the price for that. I believe that innocent children had to pay the price for that, and I'm sorry for that. But this is, unfortunately, it's not above the UK government to do. In fact, they've done so much worse. You have no idea the dirt that the UK government are hiding. And the reason I bring all this up is because in the points leading up to that, do you think Rishi Sunak got up on stage and said there's 100% chance of immigrants being terrorists? No. Do you think Keir Starmer would have gone up to a platform and said there's 100% chance of somebody being a terrorist? No. Do you think Liz Truss would have said something like that? No. Theresa May didn't even say anything like that, and she literally had raids going on. She didn't say shit like that either. That's because in Britain, people know how to hide their domestic terrorism. What the politicians do is they plant seeds of distrust against immigrants, against anyone black or brown. They don't say anything explicitly. They plant seeds. Why do you think people over here in this country have so much more of a problem admitting that racism exists? It's because they, like, the UK plant seeds. They don't say anything explicitly, and if they do say anything explicitly, they usually go out of their way to make sure they're laughed at so that nobody takes them seriously, like Boris Johnson did. They take the public's mockery of them and they turn it against the public to keep the public in the dark. Satire is the weapon of not only citizens of the UK, but the UK government as well. They will use our own satire of them against us. That's how they play it. And when it comes to saying anything more explicit, instead of the government saying anything more explicit, they'll leave that to, television pundits. They'll leave that to the Katie Hopkins of the world. They'll leave that to, the Sun newspaper. They'll leave that to the tabloids. They will leave that to privately owned companies to say the more explicit stuff out loud, to sensationalize stories so that the public will get more invested in it. That's what makes our government so much stealthier than the US government, because our government apparently controls the Guardian newspaper. Do you seriously think the Guardian newspaper is out here saying shit like that about immigrants? No, they're doing the opposite. They will leave it to capitalist papers, to tabloids, and to right-wing media to do the scaremongering for them. So the government will say something, they'll be vague and vague and mystical and what not mystical. I'm sorry. They'll be vague and mysterious. And then they will leave capitalist media to fill in the blanks and to be as sensational as possible to get the public hooked in. When it comes to the false flags of the UK, they play it subtly. They don't go around saying that there's 100% chance that there's a terrorist attack, because whilst they're not smart, they're certainly not fucking stupid. They don't do things like that. This is exactly why it's important to watch the US, because whatever the US does, the UK will take out the kinks. And on top of that, the UK has actually been responsible for influencing the US anyway. Did everybody forget that all of this shit started with Brexit over here in the UK? All of this shit started from there. There were rumblings of the alt-right for a while, but Brexit was what lit the fuse. Brexit lit the fuse over here in the UK. And ever since then, America has gone out of its way to follow suit with more exaggerated behavior. So when it comes to the UK and their false flags, they know what they're doing. They don't talk about the false flag. They don't talk about the false flags that they're doing. They certainly don't make it obvious. They just plant seeds and let the capitalists of the world, they let our version of the Trumps of the world do the rest. Whereas in America is not subtle about their gang stalking. And, and Trump is the most extreme version of that. Trump is not subtle about the fact that he used gang stalking to get into office, or the fact that he uses gang stalking to talk about 100% chance of terrorism. Get the fuck out of here. I'm sorry. Look, let me not get too passionate here. All right. The truth of the matter is, and people can tear me down for this, I don't care. The truth of the matter is that if you are absolutely certain you're going to be voted into office, and both Trump and Elon Musk have said that they are certain to get in, you have used facets of gang stalking in order to win. You have used an insurrection. You have used intimidation tactics. The intimidation tactics in particular are gang stalking related. You have also fucked with the electronic component of the voting system. There have been people online talking about not being able to find their votes being recorded. Now, I understand that this takes a while, but that to me is alarming. If there are people coming out saying, I can't find my vote, there's a problem there. And it's not like gerrymandering or fucking around with the votes hasn't been done before. And it's also not like gang stalking hasn't been used for gerrymandering before. There are certain TIs in America who have said that they've had less targeting under Obama. There are certain TIs who have said they've had less targeting under Trump. Gang stalking has also been used for gerrymandering. So I have no doubt in my mind that Trump and his administration used the voices of targeted individuals to turn that around on us and use the gang stalking against the entire public himself. 100% chance of terrorist attack. That means you're getting ready to set up a false flag. Even George Bush wasn't that obvious. And of course, he's using migrants in order to do it. You know, because migrants are coming over the border, there's a 100% chance of terrorist attack. Now, I haven't read the whole article yet, but what I haven't heard him say is that it will be the migrants that will cause the terrorist attack. That's something that he hasn't said. So this is my theory as to what's going to happen with Trump, right? Either one, he is going to use gang stalking that has already been used against immigrants in order to create a false flag. That's one possibility. The second possibility is that him talking about there being a 100% chance of migrants attacking the US will see a rise in white domestic terrorism. So it's one of two things. It's either there will be a false flag amongst the immigrant population that has been engineered by gang stalking, or there will be white domestic terrorism that has been engineered as a result of gang stalking. So it's either one or the other. But either way, Donald Trump is deliberately inciting violence, and he is using the tactics of gang stalking, smear campaigns, electronic abuse through the voting system, smear campaigns, electronic abuse, financial abuse, through attacking DEI and messing with federal funds, right? All of that is gang stalking. If you really look at what Trump is doing to people. And on top of that, he's piling on disaster after disaster after disaster. He's piling it on so that people don't know where to look. Shock and awe. That hasn't just been used with the Conservatives over in the UK, like Boris Johnson pointed out. That hasn't just been used in the UK under the Conservatives. Shock and awe is also used in gang stalking. They keep piling on negativity and piling on negativity until you don't know where to look. That is a familiar tactic of gang stalking. Now that I've said that, I want to know exactly what it's going to take to make targeted individuals across the world wake the fuck up. Trump is not on our side. Gang stalking is part of a secret military budget. They use military weaponry on us. Not just pharmaceuticals, not just technology, military weapons, military lasers, military acoustic weaponry, V2K, ultrasound weaponry to influence our brainwave pattern. All of these things are military. All of these things are military. And the far right and the Trump administration, the repubs, or, not the repubs, not the real repubs, vanilla ISIS. These people are pro-military. And they might not be pro-big state, but they are pro-enforcement. Military is enforcement. Police are enforcement. In fact, police in America, unless I'm mistaken, they already have access to acoustic weaponry, crowd control weapons. All of this is military and police. Why the fuck would the same people who use who fucking use gang stalking, who are pro-military, why would those same people then turn around and fight for us? Does that make sense to you? And I'm going to call out some of my TIs, right? The clues as to how TIs were being handled. You could see that in the Black community. You could see that among women. You could see that among trans people, queer people. You could see that among children even. All you had to do is look at the most marginalized groups in society and you'd get an understanding as to how gang stalking actually works. But no, instead you wanted to spend energy feeling sorry for yourselves. And instead of having empathy, you took your pain and your ordeal as a sign that racism wasn't real, as a sign that misogyny was over, as a sign that children, were being treated too well. Like you just use that as an opportunity to be racist and misogynist and feel sorry for yourselves. You didn't learn shit. And you let these controlled oppositions like Trump and Alex Jones talk in your ear. And even then, you didn't listen to Alex Jones all the way, because what did he always say to you? He always said to you, especially early on when he was first getting into social media, what was one of the things he told you? He told you, don't pay attention to me. Don't just listen to me. Don't just take my word for it. Do your research. Did he or did he not say that? And you still refuse to do that. And you still took red pill talking point seriously. And now look at the consequences. You just thought those consequences weren't going to hit you. You just thought those consequences weren't going to hit you. That's what this is about. You let your pride and your ego get in the way of what was right. Now look, and you still think that Trump is going to fight for you. Be fucking serious. You think the progressives hate you? They don't hate you nearly as much as Trump does. I promise you. I fucking promise you. And as much as I'm with a lot of people in criticism of how C19 was handled, like I have a lot of problems with how C19 was handled and how the distribution of the meds have been handled. I got big problems. I got big problems with how the whole thing was handled and how many people suffered because of it. I got big problems with the lies that we've been told. But there's a difference between distrusting your government and just being completely anti-common sense, which a lot of you people have been. And now look at us. I created a reel from my Facebook post that talks more about this, the fall of the Roman Empire and all that type of stuff. And that ties into that. But the point is, Trump is a gang stalker. He is the gang stalker. Every single thing about the guy screams gang stalker. He's dumb. He likes to bully people. He likes to instigate violence, but doesn't like to get his hands dirty. Wasn't my guy a draft dodger? Oh. But he likes to talk a big game though. He likes to talk about shooting people, likes to talk about all that stuff, all that stuff. Won't get his hands dirty. He is a gang stalker, like he is the embodiment of a gang stalker. Can't fucking talk, inarticulate as shit, no finesse, got an ego soft as baby shit, but bigger than Trump Tower. You look at everything about Trump, gang stalker, everything that, down to the white supremacy, down to the mediocrity, down to the inflated sense of self that comes only from the lies that he tells about himself and everyone else. Donald Trump is the physical embodiment of gang stalking. And this is the thing about the Democrats, right? They know how to lie. If you're going to be in politics, you have to know how to lie. You have to know how to be more subtle. How do you think the government have gotten away with it in the US for so long? Because they knew how to hide it. But Trump is just being out there with it to the point where people can't ignore it anymore and they're still not getting the message. Trump thinks that everybody is as stupid as he is. And I don't think so. I think that's a tough ask. I think it's a tough thing to accomplish, being as stupid as he is. But he's right about one thing. People will see what they want to believe. TIs have been warning everybody. Marginalized communities have been warning everybody. But people see what they want to believe. Trump is not going to help us. The Trump administration is not going to help us. They benefit from gang stalking. In fact, the right-wing people benefit from gang stalking more than the progressives do. That's an absolute fact. The more privileged you are, is the more you're going to benefit from gang stalking as a rule. The Beyoncés of the world will never benefit from gang stalking as much as the Trumps of the world do. Fact. Both villains. But only one of them will get maximum benefit out of gang stalking. And it's not Beyonce. It's not the likes of Beyonce. It's not the likes of Jay-Z. It's the Trumps of the world. And in fact, it's not even the Trumps of the world. It's the Senates that are operating behind him. It's the congressmen that are operating behind him. It's the grand old party operating behind him. So in conclusion, Trump saying that there's 100% chance of a terrorist attack, please interpret that as incitement of violence. Please interpret that as a smear campaign, an ongoing smear campaign against migrants to get the uneducated talking shit. Please understand that Donald Trump means to create some kind of civil struggle in America. And please take for granted, my UK citizens and my UK TIs, that the UK is going to find some way to follow suit. So that was my video. Okay. If you've made it to this far in the video, please let me know what you thought of the entire thing. Again, everything that I'm talking about is conjecture based on history that I've researched, based on my own gang stalking experiences, based on what I've observed of Trump and the UK government and the US government. But let me know what you think. Another thing that I have to say is that there's a reason why the UK government and the US government, not the UK government, there's a reason why UK TIs are more tight-knit than US TIs. It's not just because we belong to a smaller country. It's because if we don't have each other, and the UK government knows this, that we don't really have a leg to stand on without having a community, because the UK is so subtle about their gang stalking. The UK are so subtle about their gang stalking, which means the public are so in fucking denial about what's going on. It's not like that in the US. Everything's out in the open. Everything's out in the open. Americans ain't got no subtlety. So everything's out in the open. And unfortunately, because of everything being out in the open, whilst it makes it easier for US TIs to identify their perpetrators, it also means that US perpetrators have easier access to them. Although with the Section 702 overruling, things will change. It should be a good news for TIs, but it's actually not. Because it's at a time where gang stalking is threatening to be revealed to everybody by people actually going through it. When the time comes to actually investigate the crimes against USTIs, now there'll be a warrant in the way. There's no warrant in the way when it comes to putting innocent US citizens on a government list. But now the time comes to actually investigate gang stalking. Now there's a warrant in the way. Whenever the government do something, whenever your government do something, don't ask yourself, hold on, is it still on? Yeah. Never ask yourself why they're doing it. Ask yourself why now. Pay attention to the timing. And I keep saying this in almost every video. Well, not almost every video, but you get what I'm saying. Pay attention to the timing. Pay attention. Now I gotta go. Lord, I'm gonna post the reel on YouTube. The reel on YouTube, which is also the same reel on Instagram. There's a Facebook status that I've written. That's where it comes from. You can go ahead and check that out. But yeah, this is not good. This is not good. So yeah. What else do I want to mention? I want to talk about thought broadcasting for a second. The last time I made a video about her, I was very angry. And I have to confess, the reason I was actually upset wasn't because of me. I mean, I was annoyed that like she would just come online and start spewing like that. I was annoyed. But what actually angered me was that she disrespected the experiences of other TIs. And she disrespected them. Like, she said they posted no evidence. They posted evidence. They have posted evidence of their wounds. They've posted evidence of crimes, and corruption against them. They've posted evidence after evidence. She just sounded like a perp to me. Now, I don't think she is a perp, but she sounded like one. And it sounded like she was insulting TIs and insulting other TIs as a cry for help. But my thing is, if you want to cry for help, actually cry for help. Don't insult other TIs. That's what actually angered me. It wasn't the fact that she insulted what I said. That's something that I'm used to. I've had to deal with like way more psychotic people than her coming after me. And I've had to deal with certain people like literally having evidence that I didn't do my due diligence. Like I've had to deal with psychos. I've had to deal with racists. I've had to deal with transphobes. Yeah, cause like there was certain people accusing me of being male. Not gonna lie. Is that so terrible? Would it really be so terrible if I turned out to be trans? I don't think so. I don't think so. Know what I mean? But the point is that I've had more awful people than her come after me. I've had fat phobic people come after me. You heard those fucking cunts. I've had more fat phobic people come after me. I've had more racist people come after me. I've had more sexist people come after me. I've had all of these people come after me saying the most awful, disgusting things. Now, I called this woman thought broadcasting an idiot, but the truth of the matter is she didn't even call me out my name. She was just insulting other TIs, and that's where I had a problem with her. She made legitimate points about evidence, but like you're making it with the wrong people. You're making it with people who have been posting evidence. So like that's the main reason why I got upset. It wasn't because she came at me. It was because she came at other TIs who have been posting evidence. I don't like that. And then you're talking about idiots. Idiots where? You're not naming any names. Like you're accusing, you're not only accusing other TIs of being like of plucking things out of their arse. You're accusing them of being predators as well because you're hurting. That's a disgusting thing to do. But hear what? Thought Broadcasting is going through a lot right now. She says that she's been going through a lot with the trafficking and the torture of her as a targeted individual, and quite frankly, I believe her. I 100% believe her. Been wrong before, but I believe her, which is why I deleted her from my friends list. I deleted her, but I haven't blocked her for the simple reason that she didn't come at me because she it was just something for her to do. She's hurting. She's being tortured and she's being trafficked in ways that I know that I'm not being. There are a lot of TIs out there that go through a lot fucking worse than me. And I know that she's one of those people. So as harsh as I was in my last video with regards to her, it's not like I don't get it. She's literally fighting for her fucking life. Doesn't know which way to turn. I've done that too. I haven't done that with, well, not so much with other TIs. I've always tried to restrain myself from coming after other TIs unless they come for me. But I have been in the position where I've insulted people who seem to have it easier than I do because, not only was I in pain, but, I was also becoming not a very good person because of it. So yeah, I came after people who seemed to have it easier than I did because it was just a way for me to lash out, get revenge for what, I don't know. But yes, I've been there and I've done that. So I can understand where she's coming from. But just because I did that back then, it doesn't mean I have to put up with it now. I have boundaries. If you don't want to hear TI's whining anymore, I've done you a favor. I've clicked off, gone off my friends list. But if she ever decides she wants to come back and she wants to add me as a friend, door's open. The door is open. Because for the simple reason that I know how much she's going through. And I know whatever it is that she's going through is a lot worse than anything that I'm going through. So I've deleted her as a friend. But if the time comes where she ever wants to come back and she ever wants to re-add me as a friend, door's open. Door's open. I'll happily add you back. It's not an issue. Okay? So that's it. That was it for this video. I'm not going to say I hope you enjoyed. This wasn't a video to be enjoyed, but I hope you got something out of it. And, yeah. Peace and blessings, everybody. We're going to make it. We're tough. We're going to make it. Take care. Bye-bye.